The story begins in a place that just feels wrong. Everything around the old Gonjiam mental hospital is wrapped in a strange sort of desolation. The hospital itself has been closed for ages, but the shadow of its past still hangs heavy. You see, the hospital's famous director did something truly horrific. He murdered all the patients and then took his own life. This darkness was a siren call for two young guys, though. They were determined to dig up the truth, and they weren't doing it quietly. They went right into the hospital, live streaming the whole thing to a huge, buzzing audience. Excitedly, maybe even a little foolishly, they shouted into the cameras that absolutely nothing could stop them. With that bold declaration, they headed straight for room 402, a room that supposedly had never been opened before. As the door creaked open, ring, a sudden bell echoed. The camera shook violently, and then, for a split second, it showed a terrifying figure. And then, just like that, the two boys were gone, vanished. The audience watching was absolutely distraught and disturbed. But for one famous YouTuber named Hajun, this news wasn't a tragedy, it was a blessing. He hosts a channel called Horror Times, and he just found his next big content idea. He decided he was going to explore that very same asylum, also with a live stream. Hajun did his homework. He found out that back in the 1960s, this hospital was considered top-notch, the best around. Then, a strange accident suddenly claimed 50 lives, and the director simply disappeared, spooking everyone. That's when the rumors really took off. Talk of experiments on patients, or even that the Japanese army had tortured prisoners there. Hajun promised his audience, "We are going to uncover the true story." He quickly put a team together. It was a group of 3 girls and one guy, Harjan. One of the girls, Charlotte, was special. She was psychic. This meant she could actually sense things like jinn and ghosts. She'd been to 3 places before where these spirits were genuinely present. Now, the scene shifts to the dead of night. Everyone passes the hospital door, clutching their cameras and microphones. They step inside, and you can practically feel their fear. The atmosphere in there was extremely dangerous. It was pitch black, broken objects were everywhere, and years of dust had settled on everything. The moment they entered, everyone felt it. They were being watched. Hajun, though, was playing it safe. He set up a camp right outside the asylum to control the live stream and sent everyone else in. As the team began checking the rooms, they started finding strange things. In the laboratory, after looking around, they were absolutely horrified to find a dead chicken inside a container. Meanwhile, the people checking the hospital outside the lab suddenly screamed. They thought they saw a corpse floating in the swimming pool. They used sticks to check, and to their relief, it was just a wick. One of the girls, trying to be brave, wrote her name on a wall. It was the first dangerous experiment of her life. Under her name, she wrote the hopeful words, "Let's live life." Once, let's live life. At that moment, the other guy was explaining the situation to the live audience when his connection suddenly dropped. Just behind him, the door to a room suddenly flew open. This was the director's room, the man everyone believed was the killer. From outside, he did, and inside he saw a picture of all the patients, and among them, the director himself. It was there that he learned the army had permanently closed the asylum after the patient murders. Hajun and Charlotte then spoke to the audience, telling them they had locked the asylum from the inside. Everyone was now deep inside the hospital, standing in some of the rooms, waiting to see what might happen. After waiting for a long, quiet time, nothing happened. So, they decided to go to the director's room and perform a ritual to summon a ghost. They really went all out decorating the room. They put up lots of bells, candles, and other items meant to attract spirits. As they began their ritual, suddenly, all the candles started going out. Then, all the bells they'd set up began ringing loudly. Everyone completely panicked and ran outside. Their terror was obvious. But then, as they were scrambling, they found that after digging up some dirt, a rat had emerged. It turned out to be a prank set up by Hajun's friends. Hajun, sitting outside, was thrilled. Their actions had caused the view count to shoot up exponentially, and the comments and likes were pouring in. Now, Hajun started pressuring Charlotte, the psychic. He wanted her to pretend she'd seen a ghost just to get more views. As she was telling him to stop exploiting the situation for views, the lights inside her own tent started flickering. She tried to ignore it, thinking her generator must have just malfunctioned, and went back to work. Inside, the team was heading back to the lab where they'd found the dead chicken and chemicals earlier. It's important to know that they'd also seen a doll in this lab, and now that they were back, the doll had moved. This really spooked both Janan and Charlotte, who had noticed it. A member of their group mentioned that the doll looked exactly like a patient whose picture she saw in the director's room. Excited, the guy tried to pick up the doll, but Charlotte stopped him, warning him not to touch it. Charlotte started to panic, her forehead drenched in sweat. This meant something real was happening, and she just wanted to leave immediately. Once she got a hold of herself, she rejoined the group. The group of 8 then split up. 4 decided to head upstairs to room 402, and the other 4 went to the therapy room. In the therapy room, they found several containers that looked like coffins, each with a hole in the front. One guy jokingly put his hand inside the hole and pretended to be grabbed by someone from inside. He screamed loudly. This time, Charlotte was genuinely terrified. She tried to stop everyone, but no one listened. To get more views, everyone started putting their hands inside the container, acting as if they'd been grabbed, as per the instructions coming from Hajun outside. Under all this pressure, Charlotte was forced to do the same, and what she feared actually happened. Someone inside the coffin grabbed her hand and refused to let go. When she screamed in pure terror, everyone rushed to help her. They pulled together, but they couldn't free her. Eventually, whoever was inside finally let go of Charlotte's hand. When she pulled it out, it looked like someone had scratched it with sharp nails. They were all absolutely terrified. They immediately ran towards the corridor. As Charlotte ran, she saw that something had grabbed her cuff. When she reached the corridor, she saw the wall where she had written, "Let's live," under her name. Now, it chillingly read, "Your death." This terrified her even more. Finally, Charlotte and Hajun decided to choose their lives over the money and decided to abort the mission. Charlotte was crying, recording on her camera that this might be her last recording and last vlog. She felt like someone had lent her life, given her a kind of alcoholic numbness, and now she would die. Hajun told his companions outside to go tell Charlotte and Harjan that they'd be paid more if they stayed on the live stream. Maybe the money would stop them, but before the 2 boys could reach them, Charlotte and Harjan escaped the asylum. However, upon leaving, they got stuck in the bushes, unable to find a way forward. First, they saw a wheelchair moving on its own in the storeroom, and then an invisible object attacked them. This footage was actually caught on camera. Then, a flying object hit one of the boys on the head, knocking him unconscious. As the other boy tried to leave the room, the door slammed shut in his face. Meanwhile, outside, Charlotte and Hajun smelled something awful and noticed the same dead chicken and chemicals from the lab seemed to be chasing them. Charlotte panicked. Just as she was about to turn back and say something to Hajun, she felt herself getting sick. When she opened her eyes, her entire vision had gone black. Terrified, she ran screaming inside the tent. She looked outside and saw Hajun standing in a corner with his flashlight, staring at the doll they had seen earlier. It was now right at Hajun's feet. She screamed one last time, absolutely terrified, having seen a creature, a ghost, with her own eyes. Then, in the blink of an eye, she was grabbed and dragged into the darkness, and Charlotte's cries faded away. Upstairs, Hajun's employee, who had been knocked unconscious, regained consciousness. He saw his other colleagues trying to open room 402. He immediately rushed to them, trying to warn them not to do it, saying there were definitely ghosts here. But they didn't listen. A small ball suddenly flew towards them, and just as the door to room 402 was about to open, Charlotte's screams started piercing their ears. When the door finally opened, the entire place was engulfed in pitch darkness. Their infrared cameras, which were supposed to be able to see ghosts, started blinking rapidly, everything else cut out, and their live stream connection was lost. In the blink of an eye, the 3 of them found themselves inside a room filled with water, like a swimming pool. Their fear peaked when they saw numerous spirits surrounding them, and then, within seconds, all 3 of them vanished, one after another. Hajun, having completely lost contact with his team, went to check on them. He saw someone standing in the window, and he was too afraid to go inside himself. So, he mounted a camera on a drone and sent it inside. But what was standing there was his exact form. Then, the director's body was captured in the camera footage as it flew by, completely frightening Hajun. The spirit suddenly moved towards Hajun, and then the scene cut away. The wheelchair that had been moving on its own came rolling towards room 402 and attacked a boy. Outside, the live broadcast was still going, but after a long delay, everyone logged off, causing the broadcast to fail. Viewers started commenting, saying it was all fake and a drama. In the movie's post-credits scene, we see the holy water that Charlotte had placed inside the asylum boiling, finally proving that the asylum was truly haunted. And with that, the movie ends.